So the third game of the June 2007 LSAT states, a cruise line is scheduling 7-week-long voyages for the ship Freedom. Each voyage will occur in exactly one of the first 7 weeks of the season, weeks 1 through 7. Each voyage will be to exactly one of 4 destinations, Guadalupe, Jamaica, Martinique, or Trinidad. Each destination will be scheduled for at least one of the weeks. The following conditions apply to Freedom's schedule. All right, so first placing what we already know, this is a 7-week schedule. So we're going to have 7 weeks. And we have 4 destinations that are possible. Again, Guadalupe, Jamaica, Martinique, and Trinidad. And we know that each of these will be scheduled for at least one of the weeks. So each of these shows up at least once. All right, so let's think about what that rule is telling us. Each destination will be scheduled for at least one of the weeks. And we have 4 destinations, but 7 weeks, which means there are 3 weeks that are open. So let's think about the possibilities for the numerical distribution of these destinations. So if we have 3 weeks that are open, we could have one of the destinations appear 4 times and the other 3 appear only once. We could also have one destination appear 3 times, another twice, and the other 2 once. And lastly, we can have 3 destinations appear twice and 1 destination appear 1 time. And again, that's coming directly from the rule. Each destination will be scheduled for at least one of the weeks, and the fact that we have weeks 1 through 7. All right, so now that we have a nice base, let's turn our attention to the conditions that are going to apply to Freedom's schedule. The first condition tells us Jamaica will not be the destination in week 4. So we can write Jamaica is not going to be in week 4. The second condition tells us Trinidad will be the destination in week 7. So we can add Trinidad to week 7. So Trinidad is definitely going to be in week 7, but keep in mind it's possible that Trinidad shows up again. Okay, turning our attention to the third condition. Freedom will make exactly 2 voyages to Martinique, and at least 1 voyage to Guadalupe will occur in some week between those 2 voyages. All right, so for the third rule here, what we're seeing is 2 voyages, exactly 2 to Martinique. So you notice what that does right away is it eliminates the 4-1-1 possibility in our numerical distribution, because if Martinique is showing up exactly twice in the 4-1-1-1 possibility, there is no one showing up exactly twice. So that possibility has been eliminated now based on the third condition. And again, the condition is that there is at least 1 trip to Guadalupe in between the 2 trips to Martinique. So we have that block. Now keep in mind, we cannot make certain deductions here. For example, you cannot conclude based on the fact that Trinidad is 7th that Martinique cannot appear 5th. Because again, if Martinique appeared 5th, as long as the other Martinique appears 3rd or earlier and Guadalupe is in between them, it's still fine. So we can't do anything with that rule. Turning our attention now to the 4th condition, Guadalupe will be its destination in the week preceding any voyage it makes to Jamaica. All right, so it's really important to think carefully about what this rule is saying, because again, we know any introduces sufficient. So any voyage it makes to Jamaica must be preceded by a trip to Guadalupe. And we know for sure there's going to be at least 1 trip to Jamaica. Therefore, we know for sure we are going to have to place this GJ box at least once in our schedule, possibly twice. But notice another conclusion that we can make is that J can only show up max twice. Because if Jamaica were to appear 3 times, we would have to have Guadalupe in every week preceding those, which would be 6 destinations already of the 7, but we also have Martinique and Trinidad remaining to place, so that clearly would not work. So Jamaica can only appear maximum twice. And one last deduction we can make from rule number 4 is that Jamaica cannot be first, because if Jamaica was first, we would not have a week preceding it for Guadalupe. And now turning our attention to the 5th and final condition, no destination will be scheduled for consecutive weeks, so telling us that we can't have Guadalupe, Jamaica, Martinique, or Trinidad in consecutive weeks. And we know, since we have Trinidad in week 7, that we cannot see Trinidad again in week 6. And that is the setup for this game. The only other thing that you should be aware of is the placement possibilities for our Jamaica-Guadalupe block. And again, at this point, the only possibilities are 1 and 2. We could also have that appear 2 and 3, and then 4 and 5, and lastly 5 and 6. And keep in mind, we could have J show up twice, so we could actually have 2 of those blocks in our game. So let's turn our attention now to the questions